When it comes to films from Hollywood recently, many people have felt shortchanged with what they receive, but currently we're seeing a film from India that's making a big impression at the box office, and that is Kalki 2898 AD. This movie is an epic sci-fi film that is soaked in Indian mythology, and you can see the many influences on screen. Some people say it's a bit like Mad Max, a bit like The Matrix. Of course, they've all been influenced themselves by other things in the past, but it really is like a combination of many different things we've seen in this genre, in the sci-fi genre, but also the fantasy genre. A big headline surrounding this film is that it's the most expensive Indian film ever made, and the result of that is clear to see, because there's many special effects used here to really make this world a reality, and you do feel like you're transported to that world. You do feel like you are away from the everyday life, and you are just getting involved with this story, and the story itself is actually really easy to follow. As you might expect from the title, this film is set in the year 2898 AD, and it is in this post-apocalyptic world where we follow a group who's on a mission to save Kalki, which is the unborn child of the next coming of Vishnu. Now, the film does have a lengthy runtime of 2 hours and 50 minutes. There is an interval around halfway through, and that does come at a great time, because that first half there is a lot of sort of unpacking of this world, understanding these characters, and a lot of setup that needs to take place when we're building out such a big universe. And so when I sat during that interval thinking about what I'd just seen, I thought to myself, this was a fine introduction, but what has this movie got left in the tank? Well, if you like action, it's got a lot of action in that second half, as it really kicks it into top gear, and the time just flew by. So much so that when the film does draw to its conclusion, I was sat there wanting more.
Please, sir, I want some more. More? All right, stop it. Stop it right there. Now go on, fill up the bowl.
Kalki is a film in the Telugu language, and it stars one of Telugu cinema's biggest actors in Prabhas, and when he makes his first appearance, he does make quite the impression. He plays a bounty hunter who wants to enter the complex, and the complex is this big sort of inverted pyramid megastructure in the sky that looms its shadow over the city. The complex extracts the Earth's resources so it can sustain a gated paradise that is only accessible to anyone who can pay 1 million units. However, not everything is so rosy, because any fertile female refugees that are in the city are forcibly taken to the complex for Project K. What is Project K? Well, that is an experiment that is aimed at producing a life-extending serum for the 200-year-old Supreme Yaskin, with Yaskin being the God King who rules over the complex. In this place, we see how these women are treated and how they're discarded, and we learn that no woman survives more than 120 days of pregnancy. That is though until we learn about the 150-day pregnancy of a subject called Sum 80, and this woman is the key to this story. And so you can see there is quite a bleak nature to this narrative, and so it is useful to have a character like Prabhas's character Bhairava, who is this bounty hunter who does inject quite a bit of comedy to the film, even if it doesn't quite land most of the time. Even just having that positive outlook to things does help balance the movie. Bhairava does have quite a few back and forth throughout the film with his AI supercar Bougie, and with his story, he's sort of in his own direction for a little bit, but then we know there's this big overarching thing going on with this second coming of God, and so seeing how he gets involved in that story is really interesting, and also it's really entertaining actually how much arrogance he has about his own ability, in terms of that he never loses a fight. And when we get to those fight scenes, that's where you can really feel the benefit of watching it in the cinema, because you feel every hit, every slap, every smackdown in these scenes. So in many aspects, this film is worth the hype, but at the same time, there are quite a few issues, especially in that first half, because there is a lot to unpack there, and they definitely could have really cut a bit of time off there as well. It did feel a bit overstretched. The dialogue overall isn't that great either, but again, you're just there for the story. The story is what really grips you, and like I said, when the action kicks into it, that's what really keeps you going and really makes you think, damn, this is a bloody good time.
That was totally wicked!
There are some decent special effects here which do enough to make you believe in the world, but they're nowhere near to that high standard like we've seen in the big Hollywood franchises. And in terms of the story, there was quite a few just sort of conveniences and just sort of shortcuts to get characters into places they have to be. As a British guy, there were quite a few things here, like the references that did go over my head, and at the same time the Indian mythology as well. I'm sure some of you watching this video will know a lot more about that, and so we'll get a bit more from the film and benefit a bit more from the story because you'll have that knowledge. I'm intrigued to see where they're going to take this story going forward, and we will be getting more films from this universe in the future, and I'm definitely on board to see them. And in terms of the box office, it's already the 10th highest grossing Indian movie in history, and it's not done yet. I'm sure it might break more records in its theatrical run, so we'll have to wait and see how high it gets. Anyway, that's just my quick thoughts on Kalki 2898 AD. It's been a while since I've seen an Indian film, so it's nice to come back. Of course, let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you'd like to see me review another Indian film, on screen is a playlist with all my reviews on Indian films.